Oh, I'm just nailing my most valuable possession to the wall.
Jazzy Bear?
No, not the dog, my college diploma.
Oh, right.
Yep, this little piece of paper cost me $320 per square inch.
Wow, it's almost as much as a Manhattan apartment.
It does kind of make you wonder. I mean, would I have been happier if I'd chosen another major or gone to trade school instead?
At least you'd know that you can't hammer a screw into a wall.
Huh, I just thought it was a fancy nail.
I'm definitely interested to see what this is going to be covering. I know for myself, I left college with 6 figures in student loan debt, and it's not something I would wish on many people, and definitely not for anybody who is coming out of school with a degree that isn't necessarily going to help them get a job or not a high enough paying job to make up for that amount of debt. And that's becoming pretty prevalent nowadays, and it's definitely something to be cautious of as you approach college. I'm still a firm believer that getting a college degree is likely a beneficial aspect of your life and likely a worthwhile cause. But it's something that you're going to have to think about seriously and consider what's right for you and whether or not you can handle the situation that you're getting yourself into.
It's not exactly a newsflash that college is expensive. Graduates our age have an average of $37,172 in student loan debt, and
that was actually a little bit lower than what I was anticipating myself. Again, since I had about 3 plus X this amount in loans myself, that's actually surprising. I think basically like a single year of my college basically was more than this amount. So I'm not entirely sure how people are getting away with such low debt amounts. Maybe it just could be school to school or region to region. But that would definitely be a smaller number than what I would anticipate, considering if you divide that over like 4 years, that's less than $10,000 a year that you're basically getting. And most student loans accrue interest while you're there. So likely you'd be noticeably less. That'd probably be like $5,000 a year. But maybe this is just referencing like how much they have today versus what they had previously. But I'm actually a little surprised at how small of a number that is, considering how expensive school is to go on a multi-year basis.
they have to start thinking about their own kids' college.
If Philip and I had a baby this year, at around 4% inflation per year, in-state tuition would run us about $162,000. Now, there isn't one explanation why tuitions are inflating like a microwaved peep, but there are some strong theories.
Supply and demand. Over the last 40 years, having an undergraduate degree went from being considered an option to a necessity. And the more people want something, the more the people selling it can charge.
Another theory puts the blame on student loans.
Wait, how does that make sense?
Well, they're scary easy to get. Colleges have no incentive to control costs because they know the federal government and other loan agencies will keep fronting the money.
And finally, administration costs have ballooned as much as 60% in the last 25 years. A lot of that gets blamed on perks that colleges are adding to attract customers, I mean students. Davidson College offers free laundry service. Michigan Tech has an on-campus ski resort.
Of course, education is about more than just dollars and cents, but there's no denying college is a financial investment.
Of course, it's not just about dollars and cents. It's about free laundry and skiing.
You're paying all this money now in the hopes that you'll be able to make it back later. So, will you?
For most people, yes. The question is, how long will it take? And that depends on your degree. So, which majors pay for themselves the fastest? Let's run the numbers.
We'll start with the median income for somebody with only a high school diploma. Compare that with a college graduate with, say, a communications degree. That's an extra $15,000 per year. Not bad, but how much did it cost?
The average cost of tuition, room, and board at an in-state university is $80,360. So, our communications major will break even on their investment in about 5.3 years. A psychology major will take 11 years to break even. An arts major will take 8.8. Business, the most popular major, will break even in 3.2. And the most lucrative undergraduate major of all, engineering, will pay for itself in just 2 years.
Okay, but what about graduate school?
So it's definitely interesting to see. Sorry for anyone who has a psychology degree, because that's very unfortunate. But I know for myself, when I was in high school, I looked to see which degrees I might be interested in getting and what jobs I could get, and also looked into the average salaries, starting salaries for those careers, and also the likelihood of getting a job in those careers. That definitely pushed me a little bit more into engineering roles for that exact reason, which is they were like off the charts for ROI. They usually had like the top 3, maybe top 5 salaries coming out of school, and they were basically guaranteed. I think it was, at least at the time I was looking, the statistics showed it was like 99 point something percent chance of getting a job with that degree at that time. Obviously that will change and shift, so I'm sure there's probably some other degree that is maybe the hot new degree at this point in time that has a high starting salary and a high placement rate. But that's definitely something you should be thinking about, or at least curbing your decisions on potentially going for something. Like psychology in that case sounded pretty bad financially. And so this is where you don't necessarily need to go with your favorite option or what you think is going to be the coolest. Obviously, you should hopefully enjoy the thing that you're getting into, but if it's going to basically take you 10 plus years for you to pay off that loan, that's going to be a pretty unfortunate time for you, where you might be delaying most of your life for 10 plus years at that point, like maybe not getting a house, maybe not starting a family. And so I don't know how many of the folks who are watching this are in a scenario where they haven't entered college or they're thinking about it, but I would recommend taking it very seriously and thinking through what that would be like. You likely wouldn't get a loan in any other scenario for a lot of money and not have any considerations onto how financially prepared you would be. And I think this is a great point that they made of loans for school are so easy to get that like they'll just get automatically approved. I know even for myself, when I got my initial information on like financial aid, federal loans were just part of it. And I was just like, oh, awesome. That's great to hear. I get all this free loans, quote unquote. That's not how it worked. And so it's a little deceptive in how these things work and how they can negatively impact you. And so just be cognizant of this if you're about to make this decision, or if you're older and maybe working with and interacting with other individuals who are potentially thinking about doing this for themselves. Maybe you can share some of this knowledge with them so they can make an informed decision.
While it's true that some postgraduate degrees can push your income into the next tax bracket, these percentages don't tell the whole story. Take law school. The average law student graduates with somewhere between $85,000 and $125,000 in extra debt on top of their undergraduate loans. While the top students at the most prestigious universities can pull down big bucks right away, they're in the minority.
Yeah, as for like the postgraduate degrees, from the engineering side, this is something that I've seen a number of folks consider, and even something that I considered myself, but I've never really seen it pay off. In so many cases, you'll leave with a master's degree in like computer science and then join at an entry-level job with somebody who just got out of undergrad, and you'll basically have the exact same salary. Sometimes it will be literally the same. Sometimes if you're lucky, they'll pay you a little bit more, but it certainly won't be worth the difference. Obviously, that would be different for like a lawyer or a doctor, for instance. But if you're an engineer, at least at this point in time, it is completely unnecessary to get a master's degree. I've seen some scenarios in which getting like a PhD can potentially spur you on, because those are so rare that like you can then start highlighting your very niche knowledge and skill set for a high paying job. But then those jobs are going to be so much harder to find. Because then you're trying to find like a needle in a haystack job for your needle in a haystack knowledge. And so you could potentially get higher earnings than somebody who doesn't have it, but you also might spend a lot of time not being able to find that job and then end up settling for a standard job you could have had with an undergraduate degree. So again, definitely something you should put into consideration as well.
Minority. Almost half of law grads earn a median starting salary of only $65,000 a year.
Ouch. $65,000 a year for a law degree? That is really small. This is definitely not what I was expecting as a number. Certainly this comparison to the communications degree for $50,000 a year, definitely there's no chance that is worth it. But obviously we all think lawyers make more than that, so curious if they're going to highlight how much they can expand to. I'm also not sure. I think for doctors, there's also kind of this like residency period that I believe happens right after you graduate, and you get paid less money during this time. But then the expectation is like a couple years down the road, you then get paid a lot more. I'm curious if this is the same situation for like lawyers or people with a law degree, where maybe you kind of have to like pay your dues for the first couple of years, and then the money starts getting raked in. But maybe they'll cover that here.
That's just a $15,000 pay bump for an extra $100,000 of debt.
Okay, how about med school? That's gotta pay off big time, right? Well, the median salary for a general practitioner is $175,000 a year, but the
Nice. I think many people are probably seeing this number being like, yeah, I wish I had that money right now. So we'll see. I'm sure they're probably about to burst our bubble with this next fact.
average cost of medical school at a public university is around $200,000. When you factor in your undergraduate loans and the interest that debt is racking up while you're in residency, it's very common for doctors to end up paying almost $500,000 over 25 years for those two letters behind their name.
That's quite a bit of debt for sure. That still theoretically pays itself off. That's $175K a year is still a whole lot of money. To have to pay off $500,000, that's still gonna hurt, but that's something that you arguably could pay off within 5 to 10 years, maybe. Certainly you would have a lot more disposable income, presumably. You'd certainly be up there in age because you've spent all the extra time going to school, doing your residency, and then spending another 5-10 years on top of that paying off this loan. But your 50s and over are going to be great for sure with that degree.
If all of this is sounding scary or discouraging, just remember that statistically, it does pay to go to college in the long run, whatever your major. And there are things that you can do early on that will ease the debt burden down the road.
Shop around.
So I just wanted to double down on that because I do feel like there was a lot of negativity towards getting a college degree so far. But they did say statistically you are better off having a college degree. I've also seen some other data where they've shown that basically like real life wages, have actually increased with getting a college degree. But those without a college degree have actually seen like real wage losses over like the last decade or so. So that's something you should definitely keep in mind as you're coming to this decision.
Most universities can supply you with the information about how much their alumni make in the workforce. They might even connect you with graduates of your same major who can answer your specific questions. And when comparing prices, make sure you factor in the cost of living. Some cities are so expensive to live in, it can double the amount you'll have to borrow.
Consider community college. There's a stigma that it's only for people who can't get into real college, but it's actually a really smart decision. You can slash your undergraduate debt in half and not get locked into a lifelong financial commitment at the wise old age of 18. That's what Philip did. And today we have the exact same diploma from the same university, but mine cost more than twice as much.
And lastly, look into alternative financing. There are companies and colleges that are trying out a newfangled approach called income share agreements, in which the student agrees to pay a fixed percentage of their salary for a fixed period of time. Unlike a loan, which relentlessly accrues interest through good times and bad, ISAs don't punish the borrower for making less money than they hoped. They're basically betting on you to do well and sharing some of the risk if you don't.
Now, most people don't choose their major for purely economic reasons. People want to do what they love and what they're good at, and no PowerPoint presentation is going to change their minds. And there are benefits to college that you can't quantify, like broadening your horizons, or meeting your future husband.
Being money smart doesn't mean basing your life around money. It just means taking simple precautions early on so you can chase your dreams without weights around your ankles. And that's our 2 cents.
Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please hit like or subscribe. I'll see you around.